Taking your time to open your eyes. Enjoying our circle. Today I want to, let me just see if there is anyone that I need to mention. No. Thank those of you who have joined our WhatsApp group. There's been a lot of very nice discussion and sharing that's happening in such a simple way, not having to get on a website or having to navigate. WhatsApp is so easy. So if you're not on WhatsApp and you want some help doing that, just let City or me or one of the other ladies know, because it's really a nice way to keep in touch and communicate. And it's once you get into the rhythm of it, it's quite simple. So just that, that is the only announcement that I have. This morning, Gabby has posted a recommended movie in our chat section you might want to take note of, that is quite topical, and given that it's about women, young girls. And as we sit in a circle of women and we imagine how we are empowering ourselves to hold all of the power and the qualities that we wish to have as women in the world, part of that responsibility is us also being aware and tending how it is that young girls are coming into their power and into their wholeness around the world. And it's a challenge in many parts of the world. So thank you, Gabby, for sharing that movie. So today we're, and just one other thought, one of the things that City and I really enjoy is responding to your questions or your inquiries or your musings. And it's helpful for us to know what it is that you're thinking and what you're wanting to talk about and share within this circle. So any suggestions or any direction that you would like to go in a discussion, we are completely open and would appreciate that inquiry. So please just type in things, send us emails, texts, whatever, but we like speaking to what's coming up for you. So sometimes we, we're always coming up with our own ideas. However, when you suggest something that's up for you, we find that it tends to be really universal within our group, and it's really nice to address it. So please feel free to contribute and suggest, and just let us know what you're thinking. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about, City and I are going to speak to one of the things that has come up for me and many individuals I've spoken to since the first of the year is this notion of setting New Year's resolutions, and the idea of I need to now really concretize and set a structure around my physical practices, my spiritual practices, my health practices. And there's an idea that somehow we're just not ever quite doing enough, that we haven't, we want to do a program of whatever health or whatever it happens to be, of walking or whatever, but it's just another thing in our list of our day. And we start to feel like there are so many things that would be good for us and that we would like to do. And yet our day becomes a structure that doesn't leave the spaciousness for us to just see what's coming to us. And so we want to talk a little bit about spiritual health and well-being, and the notion that we talk about this all the time, but really imbibing and bringing into us the notion that every breath and every movement we make during the day, whether it's cooking or it's cleaning or it's visiting with somebody who is ill or it's calling up a friend who needs some support or whatever, however you are showing up in the world is the major part of your spirit journey. And the reason that we do these other practices is they're like tuning. We're tuning ourselves up to stay available to be the spiritual being that we are. We are spiritual beings who are trying to figure out how to be human. We're not human beings trying to figure out how to be spiritual. You are already spiritual. And yet the humanness of our incarnation sometimes takes over the spirit piece. And so for us to be able to continually recognize that we can take the smallest little adjustments There's a new book out that a friend of mine was just telling me about. I have to get the full name. It's a Atomic something, and it's about the idea that the teeniest, tiniest parts of our movement, both intellectual, mental, physical, spiritual, are, thank you very much, Angela, atomic habits. That the smallest pieces that we are able to tweak as we move through our day. And when we start recognizing that life is a series of little tiny nuggets of involvement that keep us in the height of our vitality, by recognizing these little tiny pieces that then, as they collect and as we are paying attention to them and our intention, that we actually have a shift. That the shifts that we go after that are really large, when we say, I'm going to change up my whole spiritual practice or my whole exercise practice, are all favorable and fabulous, but they're sometimes hard to hold on to. But the tiny little pieces that we can pick up, they have a way of building upon one another. And so I really wanted to just visit with us today around that we are, as we take a breath, if our consciousness, our awareness is allowing us to recognize that just that breath has a preciousness in it, not because we're alive, but because we're still able to serve more. We have another breath to serve into the world. And that simplicity can bring us, joy can be seen, not that it doesn't exist everywhere, but in complexity, it's harder for us to get to joy. But in simplicity, we can really, the ease of simplicity lowers the threshold for where joy can seep through. And so for us to be able to lower that threshold and find ways to have our life be ease, and to be looking at the little tiny nuggets rather than looking at big changes that have to happen, that we can then start finding that sweet place, that little sweetness that's in every moment that we're living, in every breath that we're taking, in every offering. There are several really beautiful movies. I think like Water for Chocolate, I think was one of them. There are a couple where the whole concept is that as you cook, whatever love you're pouring into what you are creating, then is felt and experienced by those who are having that meal. And that is both accurate and a metaphor for us. Every little thing that we pour into the world is experienced by somebody else. And so we have that opportunity to be pouring ourselves in this way that we're trying to live into the world, that allows for our grace and our love and our compassion to be just the nuggets we're just spilling around everywhere we go. And that doesn't take any kind of practice except awareness that you're doing it. And the little habits of that, the small habits of that, become the bigger pieces of how we live into the world. Do you want to say something about that, City? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but you have such beautiful insights.
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you, City. So today I want to just chat a little bit about what I'm calling spiritual alchemy, because we are the alchemists of our life. And if we don't take charge of that, the nuances, when you look at alchemy in the context of what it means in working with the elements and being able to work with mercury and work with different physical properties, we're transforming physical properties in our world into other things. So transforming something from one property to another, or one element to another, is physical alchemy. But we have a spiritual alchemy that is this trifecta of our body, mind, spirit. It's the three pieces of us coming together, and we are in the constant attunement of that. If we just live into the juiciness of every moment offers me, in this moment, I can stretch my body. I can do one of the little, small stretches that City's going to share with us today, just because I want to bring myself fully into my body. And it's just in that moment. It wasn't that I went and sat and set a timer and did something. It's that in that moment, I can stretch like a cat. And then in the next moment, I can breathe with this deep pranayama that I know, and I'm just doing it, I know is filling me with the fullest breath I can have. And it becomes my movement through life. Instead of a moment when I do a practice, it becomes my movement of life. And we become the alchemists of looking and feeling into every moment of how am I transforming myself in this moment, in these little atomic nugget ways, by just being in the awareness and changing the sweetest little tuning. It's like a tuning fork, and taking the very, very fine, refined way of adapting and changing and looking at ourselves. And when we live into that, it gives us, every breath is an opportunity for us to have a little influence without mentally going through a construct, just living into what is this moment calling for you to do? And it might be a stretch, it might be a breath, it might be to pick up some beautiful thing that you see on the ground as you walk, a beautiful stone or a leaf, but it's those little tiniest offerings that are intersecting into your life. And when we become aware and we work with that, life is offering them up all the time. Gabby just mentioned this morning about walking some dogs last night and out in nature, and just her awareness of the stillness and the stars, the cosmos, and this feeling of where she was as being present in this space, was that little nugget moment of us using alchemy to transform ourselves into being receptors in that moment. So we have to be the alchemists of our life. And it's in these tiny little atomic nuggets that we start to see and feel into bigger shifts. And it's beautiful if you have a spiritual practice and you sit on a cushion and you chant and you meditate, and all of these things Siddhi and I highly recommend. But over and above all of those, if it's not useful to do that practice and then it's done, I get off the cushion and it's done and it's all just left there. We want to carry those pieces in our system so that as we move into the world, it is just surging through us. What you take in the Ayurvedic Eastern tradition, what we take in through our senses is what we digest, and it's what comes back out. So it's everything from what we hear, what we see, what we smell. We are digesting that. So in that system, we are simply part of the recycling system. We take in, we recycle, we bring back out. So how are we, if you're not aware of the tiniest things that are around us that are sustaining us in such beautiful, simple ease ways, how are we able to take that in, recycle it, and bring it back out? If our input is such that we are receiving more destructive, the news that's happening, things that are creating angst in us, then that's what comes back out. So we have to be the alchemists of that transformation and responsibility for how we are allowing things to come through us and how we are settling into the nuances of our life. We have to be aware of the nuances and able to, and so that we are able to make the alchemist changes, because those are the elements that we're using for our alchemy. Everything around us is an element for our alchemy. Every smell, every moment, every irritation, every judgment, all of those things are part of what we need as our alchemy. Otherwise, we can't transform without those elements. And without our awareness of them, we aren't even in the knowingness that we're bringing them in. So even when you're not on the cushion, even when you're not in a meditative practice, your life is one big meditation. It is one. The physical way you move it, the mental way that you take in information, the emotional way that you are responding to the outside world, all of it is a piece of your spirit journey. That is our life. So let us go forward and just be juiced up by the moment, whatever this exact moment, being present. How beautiful Brenda's sharing about her mother and at her stage, how she's only in this moment. That's all she knows is this moment. How do we practice being just in this moment and take the alchemy that's being presented to us, the elements, the pieces, and use those to have transformation inside of ourselves? We don't have to go out. We don't have to go anywhere. Use your senses to gather the pieces that we use as we are the alchemists. And let's see what happens. Let's see if we can bring ourselves into a state of constant receptivity and movement of recycling and bringing beauty in and letting beauty back out, and bringing things that are more difficult in and letting beauty back out. That we can change, we can be the alchemist of whatever comes in. It doesn't have to just be the beautiful things. Whatever comes is a piece. It's just a piece of the journey that we're on. And that life, that simple life, is one of ease, of movement in and through us. And that is, we don't have to have a new practice or a New Year's resolution or something on our calendar. Nothing new has to change, except that we're just sinking into the moment by moment receptivity to life and the vitality that that brings us. And then you'll still have your disciplines and your tools and your practices on the side. That's fabulous. We should. Those deepen us and strengthen us and help to cleanse us when we need that. But that alone, if your mindset isn't there to take second by second as the breath of this alchemy, possible alchemy, and make that the change, then it's just another thing you're doing in your life, another practice. And that's, you can fill your day up that way, or you can fill your day up with only one of those things and the rest of your day just being the experience of you as the alchemist and you transforming every experience, every person, every nugget that comes through you and distilling it down to its essence rather than the complexity. Let's have the simplicity. And it doesn't have to be a simple life, but in everything that we move through, there's a level of simplicity that we can tend to, even in the complexities of life. If you want to get yourself entangled with the complexity, that's a choice. But it doesn't mean our life is simple. It means the way that we are handling it is simple. Life will still be whatever it is, but we don't have to make it complex in our mind experience unless we choose to. It's a choice. So go forward this week, ladies, and see if you can find the atomic nuggets and have little tiny shifts for the transformation and the alchemy, and see yourself as this exquisite alchemist of your life. It's a beautiful responsibility.
Thank you, my dear. While you were speaking, I was thinking, so why do we need to do it in general? Why do we have an emphasis on sitting down and chanting? Why are we not chanting while we're cleaning the house? So really incorporating, and there's a good purpose why it's good to just sit sometimes, but really using our daily tasks and allowing ourselves to be in tune with our body mind. And then I thought we are sometimes so disconnected from the body that we think now we have to do this yoga pose or we have to do this, but if we really tune into our body, we experience that we have a body mind and there's no separation. The separation just comes from our head. And if I sit at the desk and I close my eyes for a moment, I fear that, my back is hurting, my shoulders, my neck, everything is a little off. But so often we don't get up and do something, or we don't sit there and do something immediately. We just becoming aware if we become aware of it, right? So I thought, to support us today, I want to do, because we spend a lot of time at the desk, let's face it, I want to share some movements on the chair that I just do in between, because my body is made to move. My body was not made to sit a lot, and so is your body, period. This is in Germany, we call it ein Bewegungsapparat, which means a movement apparatus. Yeah, so it's not sitting still, is like the kiss of death for our spine. So the spine always needs to move to keep its fluidity, and its flexibility. So I want to just share on the chair some movements that we can do to keep, like what Nirmala so nicely shared, the practice in the moment without having to change something. We don't have to get onto the mat. So whenever you sit at the desk, in between your body, your spine is literally longing to go into the spinal flex. preferable you will move a little bit forward on your chair. You have your hands around your knees or your thighs, and you just allow the movement to start from the base, from your tailbone. And then you drop back, you're arching and you're rounding. You can close your eyes. And this closing of the eyes is important because when you stare the whole time at your laptop or your computer, you're actually having a negative impact on all your organs. Your liver doesn't like it. Yeah, so just taking 2-3 minutes, and you don't have to set a timer. You just feel like, oh, my spine needs a little movement here. And this will support, literally, even this will bring already more energy into all, and we spoke about them, the chakras. Yeah, it brings this movement, brings in the fluidity, the change. So, and it's so simple. You can do this in the airplane, in your car. If I'm at the light and I'm sitting there, I could look around and check who's, in the car next to me, or I could just, for a moment, I'm not closing my eyes when I'm in the car, but, I'm just doing my spinal flexes. Very simple. It is absolutely healthy. You want to arch as much forward as you can. You're not engaging your head a lot. Yeah, your head, your chin is parallel to the ground. And you just feel your spine, one vertebrae stacking on top of the other, arching forward, rounding back. We do this for 30 more seconds. Especially in an airplane or in a train where we sit for the longest time. It's very, very unhealthy. But this can be done. And you can do them even a little less obvious. So that people don't think what's wrong with you. Good, we come back sitting. And then I like to bring my feet out. Now you're not doing this one in the car. This is really at your desk. And you're going to use Sufi Grind. Now we do this mostly close to every Saturday, this movement. I do it close to every single day. Just rounding. If we are in tune with our body, we know that our kidneys and our adrenals, that the inside of us needs this movement as a massage. And it's so soothing. You're arching and you're rounding, your chin stays parallel to the ground when you go forward. And then you bring your chin close to your collarbone when you come back. So with the first movement, we supported our first energy center, the spine. Now we are in the second energy center, bringing movement, change. And if you watch your tailbone right now, you even feel the movement there all the way down. Yeah? That's another nice one when you sit in the car or in an airplane, do circular motions. Let's reverse the direction. There are a lot of chair yoga exercises. I mean, everything. These ones are easy because you can use them close to everywhere. And the body longs to move. It was made for it. And then slowly come to center. So we move the spine this way. We did the circular motion. Yeah. So what the spine also needs is the twist. So in an airplane, it's harder. And this one you're not doing in the car. Yeah, but you can, even in the airplane, you can place your hands on top of your shoulders, opposite shoulder, and you just twist from side to side. And you make sure that you move your torso from the base of your spine, becoming aware of the movement internally, taking your head with you. And we are going through all these postures right now. You can do one of these here and there, like Nirmala shared, moments where you feel like, oh, it's good to twist right now. And just do it. All your digestive organs are happy in this moment. Our spine needs all movements. And it's great to go into a yoga class, and come into shoulder stand and be a pretzel. But that's something, you have to dedicate time to. You need an instructor in the beginning. It's nothing, but these ones are all safe. That's why I share them with you. You can't go wrong. If you listen to your body here, you will be just fine. Good, and then you come to center. So often, I go hiking a lot or walking up the hills or so. And what I personally do is because our heart longs for the air element. Yeah, and often when we walk, which is great, we are moving our arms forward and back when we walk. But today or tomorrow when you go out, just watch how people are walking. So there's a lot of movement in the lower triangle. Yeah, from solar plexus downward. There's not much in the upper. So what I highly suggest, and you can do this at the desk too, just in between, open your arms, bring them back and close. So just give the heart the air it longs for. Arms go out to the side, forward. Good. And then you think for a moment of your heart. I always think when we think of our inside, the inside will work better for us. I see all my organs as my little lovers inside of me who are with me for my entire lifetime. I don't know this about my life partner, but I know it about my organs. They stay for sure. So that's how I relate to them. And that could be one of your little practices, which Nirmala shared. Wake up in the morning and think, hey, heart, what are we up to today? Include them into your plan. Does your kidney want more water? Does your heart want more air, some time to breathe? Just imagine the inside could talk to you, which it does. Unfortunately, we just hear it when they scream for help. Then we are, oops. But this beautiful apparatus is the temple for our soul, as our teachers always say. Yeah, so we want to treat it with kindness, a lot of awareness. Just do 2 more. This is helpful, especially when you sit at your desk, because we sit like this. You can bring your arms down. We often sit like this. But you want to open the chest. Well, that's what it's there for. So then the heart can join. So just in between. And then the next thing, I love this next movement, is really, it's not the neck rolls. Yeah, I learned it through working, for the brain. It's really moving the head in every direction. And especially when we sit, I feel that myself, when I sit at the computer, I often go like this. My back is rounded. I look terrible from the side. So you want to just make sure your spine is erect. You bring your chest up, and then you move your head in any wild direction you can imagine. Your mind will hear a lot of sounds. You will avoid going into a pattern. You'll always find new movements. And while you do this, you think of your tiny little brainstem in the back, where you pivot your head from left to right. That's where this little thing is. Crucial for our brain health. And just move your head. So they say, in the brain, if we work for the brain, we want to literally do this actually for 3 minutes while we're taking a break from the desk. Because this way we allow the oxygenated blood to come back to the brain. We're really helping our brain to think more clearly. There are often calcium deposits that we can break down. And, again, you can do this in the car when you have to wait a little bit at the light, or you wait for somebody. Just move these body parts that are accessible in the moment. You might hear a lot of noises and cracking. That's why we do it. And it's simple, isn't it? So simple. Most of the simple yoga postures are actually the best ones. You can't hurt yourself. You just can improve. Good. Let's do 30 more seconds to give the brain some juice here. You're juicing up your brain. Make sure you get out of a rhythm. Find new movements. Good. And then we slowly come to center, keeping our eyes closed for a moment and just feeling into our body. So we activated all the 5 chakras within us. Good. Take 3 more deep breaths. And then I like for us to just bring our palms into an open posture facing upward. And the next breath is so healthy because you work below your belly button and you push, in Kundalini Yoga, we look at the Kunda, the hair of the beloved. It's as if it's, curled around our base. So, and with the breath of glow, we push this energy up into the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th chakra, and then it can rise higher. So the emphasis is always on the exhalation. You don't hear your inhale at all. Yeah, and on the exhale, you push your navel all the way towards your spine. And the rhythm is like If you watch my hand for a moment like this, I exhale. All breath is through the nostrils. And this can be done, and just for a few minutes, and you will feel the shift. If you're a bit confused and the breath is not going the way I show, then place your hand on your tummy and make sure you go slower and you exhale and your navel moves towards your spine. That's crucial for our well-being. If you're breathing the other way, you're actually depleting yourself and you do not nourish your inside. Sometimes I do this breath at the desk and I'm not closing my eyes. I turn my chair around and I look at the greens, in my surrounding, so that my eyes look at green. Another very healthy thing. We do one more minute. It's the breath of glow. Now, the longer you do it, the more you will glow. Because you release a lot of toxins from the base. And especially when we sit a lot, they accumulate easier. Last 30 seconds. Good, and then we take a deep inhale. Exhale, open mouth. 2 more times. Good. There are a lot of chair exercises, yeah? So I didn't incorporate them with the legs and anything because I just wanted to share those that you also can do maybe in the car, most of them, on an airplane. You can really stretch out in an airplane like this and do side stretches. Your neighbor wouldn't be happy. But these ones that I shared, just one of them in between, just remember your body needs your attention. Otherwise, your mind just simply takes over. So I want to meditate for our remaining 2 minutes, having our right hand on top of the left, the tip of our thumbs are touching, and we close our eyes. The practice that is needed for the brain. In a brain study, they discovered that 5 times 5 minutes to close our eyes and not having a mantra, not focusing on anything, actually increases our brain capacity. Giving our eyes a rest. And while we are breathing and having our eyes closed, let's tune into our we-space. Imagine my exhalation becomes your inhalation. And I imagine, some of your exhalations are becoming my inhalations. We are connecting through the breath. Seeing in front of our closed eyes other participants. And coming back into the circle. And remembering that enlightenment is really a relationship with intimacy, with all things, with all doingness. Good. And then from here we bring our hands into prayer pose, bowing to each other. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoy some of these little tiny things throughout the week. Have a great week. We see you next Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.